In every conflict, politicians or government are leading the information and the propaganda. And after the conflict, the problem with the reconciliation that it's not a political act. It's something that must meet together entire societies, with NGOs, with local authorities, with local societies, because remembrance is never a monophonic voice, it's a polyphony of voice, of way to remember, let's say, the past. So it's many times, let's say, some internal discussions and external discussions that are not really between two different societies, but between a large group of different perspectives, different views, different opinions.
I'm not sure if there is one single recipe for reconciliation. Maybe there are many ways, and maybe every nation or every country or every single person, they have their own way to find the right solution for the reconciliation. But the fact is that we need it, and institutions like your network or like my memorial, I think it's our mission to help people find their own way.
I think the understanding the history of wars and peacemaking sort of helps us to better understand how different generations in the past have dealt with rather similar questions. How do you make peace? How do you demobilize armies? How do you demobilize the minds of those who have been involved in these wars? Of course, wars also create very strong emotions, and overcoming those is often much more difficult than simply mobilizing an army or demobilizing an army at the end of it, sending home the troops and putting the tanks back into the barracks.
Reconciliation is context specific. It depends on the individual actors, it depends on the circumstances of the breakdown or the war or the conflict that leads to the need for reconciliation in the first place. But I think importantly that what you need is a toolkit of tools that have the potential to be deployed in different circumstances. So, for instance, an external mediator may well be very important in one context, or it might be very important in another context to have Truth and Reconciliation Commission. There might be all sorts of tools that can be deployed, but not necessarily all in the one box at the one time.
When you see guests from Central and Eastern Europe and from the Balkans, we're mainly dealing with memorialization. We come from institutions that try and memorialize mass atrocity, whereas our Western friends here are more about reconciliation. And part of the reason that I came here was that the word and the notion of reconciliation has a certain air of toxicity where I come from. And I wanted to see, especially in conversation with people from Glen Cree here, how we can break through that toxicity and make reconciliation at least meaningful, a substantial term rather than a term that is just bandied about without anyone actually having an idea what we mean and whether there is a common meaning to that particular term and practices that should fall under that.
I think that it's important to see that in a very dynamic way, with calls for reconciliation coming from above, from the top-down processes, and also almost at the same time, calls for reconciliation coming from below, from grassroots, bottom-up processes. So I think it's important to keep the idea of a political and public momentum, and this dynamic multi-level process, if you want, was very well summarized, I think, by Jean Monnet, one of the fathers of the European construction, who said that nothing can change without people, so the grassroots, the people, human flesh, right, who do have memories, who do remember things, but who do want to have another kind of story for their kids and next generations. But nothing lasts without institutions. And so it's not enough to have only individual or even associations initiatives. They need to be supported, financially driven as well, and a kind of political will, eagerness to get somewhere.
This is the 10th European Remembrance Symposium, and we developed this project. It was from the very beginning the idea to bring together representatives from different institutions dealing with the 20th century history in one place once a year, to give them the chance to exchange different opinions, different experiences, and to give them also the chance to cooperate in the future together. So we started with Gdańsk and then went every year to different places, developing at the same time the structure of the meeting.
The importance of this symposium, or the importance of networks, is that it gives countries an opportunity to be able to hear each other in a way that perhaps they wouldn't be able to do. And Ireland is a country that is on the periphery of Europe, and that also its history and its culture and its conflicts have been very closely connected with the UK and our diaspora in America and in Australia and other English-speaking countries. So for a network like this, it brings us directly into Europe. It brings us in to understand countries and cultures that we probably haven't been in contact with. So that's a very rich experience to hear from what other people have said, but also to learn from what other people have experienced and done. And also, of course, there are commonalities between our country and between all of your countries across Europe.